Let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah. She so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah. She so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. She give me a bit of her love. Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome to another one, man. It's your boy, Raw1, and this is Sparking Conversation, and y'all know what I do each and every week. I get up here and I talk to some of the world's most interesting people, and tonight I'm going to do the same thing. But before we get into that, y'all know I got to do the same thing I do each and every week, and that's give a double shout-out to all the people that download the audio version of this platform. Thank y'all so much. Y'all the real MVPs. I'm never not going to show gratitude to y'all because y'all the reason that my platform moves all around the world. This visual part right here, we understand that helps too, but that's not podcasting, right? Podcasting is audio. And I also always want to help people to understand, for those of you that are on your podcast journey, that listen, it's so many different ways that you can look at yourself when it comes to this. I know we're looking for that quick viral moment or just those versions of what people consider podcasting because of who they watch, and not necessarily exactly what they listen to, but learning that the world of podcasting is the audio. Have you ever understood that when you watch certain people, they say, yo, on my Patreon and different things like that, where they have you guys pay to get exclusive first dibs on the interview? When soon as that's over, they put that audio right out on Spotify, Apple, and all those other places. So mentally, a lot of people feel like they're getting the exclusive, and they are at that moment, right? Because they could get it live at that moment. But for those of you guys that are out here, and this is your thing, this is your gig right here, doing podcasting, I want y'all to know that the audio version is the most important part of your podcast. Do not overlook that part. If you need to know how to get your audio version on all the streaming platforms, then you need to click the link in the description for RSS feeds. Go ahead and get started today. You can get started for free, right? You can get your link and you could go there yourself, or you could pay the little subscription, which is like $12 a month, and they could do it for you. You could push a button and it could send to the places that you wanted to go, right? So I'm just saying to y'all, do not allow yourself to be tricked by just this part if you're doing podcasting. All right, take this serious, man. You know what I mean? You're journalists at some point. But there's a bunch of y'all that jumped on. Thank y'all. And I know some people ask me what that QR code is that's up here on the screen. I appreciate the question. That QR code is for anybody that's watching now or any playback. If you ever want to scan that code and support the platform, you can. If you're watching on YouTube right now and you want to donate stars, you can. Stars are a penny. If you are, you can scan this code right here. You can donate anything from a penny up to whatever you want, if that's what you want to do, if you feel like that the platform adds value. Because y'all know I have real stories on here, right? I don't clickbait. I don't do things just to be in the moment and to get a bunch of reactions from people. I have real conversations. So if you guys want to support the platform, for those that ask, there you go. It's right there. All right? And I appreciate y'all. Outside of that, let's get through a couple of things before I get to my rant and before I bring my guest up. Excuse me. All right, let's start with this because today is Tuesday, and y'all know each and every week I drop a new piece of content. So today's piece is my new series, Trapped in the Living Room. It just dropped today. It is pinned to the top of my page on Facebook. It is also on Team Collective TV. If you guys are on YouTube, right? YouTube/Team Collective TV. You could go there and you can catch it there. It's also on my Facebook page, The Collective Visions. I also want y'all, and I want to thank all of y'all so far that already watched it and commented and everything. Thank y'all. We're going to keep pushing. The clip is loaded, y'all, so we're not going to stop dropping this content. So thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Now, to the big one. In 11 days, exactly 11 days, we got We Don't Wait, We Create, the biggest networking event in the area for all creatives, man. I'm talking about podcasters, filmmakers, models, clothing designers, whatever you are in the business. You need to be here, all right? TheCollectiveEvents.net. TheCollectiveEvents.net. Get your tickets right now.
be in the building. I promise y'all don't want to miss this event. We got Vincent M. Ward from The Walking Dead will be in the building chopping it up with all of the people. We also got Don Monroe, who helps a lot of models get their bag out here in this modeling game. We got Yessie Rodriguez in the building. Y'all seen her in so many different movies all over the place. She will be here with Slay the Scene Acting Academy or in workshops too as well. So for those of y'all that want to sharpen your tools and make it happen. We also got Grammy nominated music producer Mike Blaze in the building. He will be here, and that is going to be amazing for all you artists. We're talking about bringing the music and the film together. You guys need to be in the building if you want to understand what's going on with him. We also got Amber Dirksen in the building from Elite Mode Media. She will be covering the event, as well as a few others. I have some more people that I'm going to announce in the next couple of days that will be out to cover the event as well too. We also got hold on. We got entertainment attorney Peter Sign will be there as well. Right? So get those questions answered. Don't just go put the cart before the horse. If you got a project, if you got your podcast, if you got anything that's going on, listen, go get the information and know how to do things right so you're not just throwing your stuff away and giving your IP away. Come on, y'all. This is the time to get it. And we got Fitz will be in the building. Y'all know him. He does all kind of things with marketing. If you guys need somebody to help market your event, this is the guy to talk to. He will do his very best to make sure that your event is successful. That's exactly what he does. So thank y'all to all of y'all that will be a part of We Don't Wait, We Create. And if anybody out there feel the same way I feel, y'all know we're not waiting on nobody to give us an opportunity. We create them ourselves. We don't need validation from outside people to tell us if we're good enough. We go out there and we get it ourselves. So shout out to all of y'all that already got your tickets, and to the rest of y'all, get your tickets now. Be there or be square. All right? Bet. All right, so let's do this. We know health as well. Y'all seen that new parasite that's out here. And then they got the nerve to call it blastocyst because of what it does. So can you imagine what that is? But that is new to who? Because we know that a lot of people have been dealing with parasites in their body for the longest. And then it's so many reports about people who pass away from different coroners who say, yo, people think they die from all of these different things that they've been diagnosed when they really haven't. They've been passing away because they haven't been able to take care of their health the right way. The old way has been robbed from us, y'all. So modern medicine is not help to cure us. Y'all know that. It's only help to help them. So for those of you guys that need to do the research, I would advise y'all do the research of how the human body and what the effects of having parasites is. And if you do and you feel like that's for you and you need to get yourself together, the parasite detox is in the description. I want you guys to click the link. You figure out what's going on and get yourself together. I promise you, nobody's coming to save us, y'all. We got to help ourselves, all right? And outside of that, y'all know they've been doing all the chemtrails and everything else, the heavy metals that's been in the atmosphere. You guys need to make sure you put the right things in your body that can help gather that up and help pass it through to get it out of your body. Remember, y'all, there's a lot of things that are against us than for us, so we got to be for each other, all right? So make sure that y'all check it out. Okay, so with all of that being said, y'all, here we go. Here's my rant for the week, because I know y'all expect that every time. Y'all, listen, I've seen the videos. People have been sending me the videos. First, they've been talking about the birthright citizenship, and then now they're talking about Iran and all of these things that's going on, and you know, the new vaccination mandate that's been done, so a lot of the children don't have to have all of these bundled vaccinations now. They broke it down to where you can have one or the other. And I think a lot of people, they feel like that's just as worse as the regular ones, because now the kids are going to have to go back to the doctor more often for more shots and all of these other things. But you know, this is the thing I wanted to talk about, because fear, right? At any given point, y'all, fear has always been used against us to put us in a certain position where the people or the powers that be can control the situation, right? They cannot do things unless we give them permission. Now, they could do things to motivate us to give them the permission, right? By making certain things good or bad according to a person's choice. And right now, I think a lot of the fear that's being pushed out here is being pushed in order for people to be, locked into a certain agenda. Because you can't imagine that all the things that's going on in the United States right now, that people are just in this funk of thinking that this is the worst. Everything is bad. But I don't understand that, right? Because in any sense of the matter, we know that we're dealing with a bunch of people who want to control everything. The only way that they can control everything is for us to give it away. And the way that we give it away is through fear. Because let's just talk about this, right? It was so many experts that was coming out, medical experts that was just standing on, just standing on it. Like, yo, today, I'm talking about today too. Vaccines don't cause autism. Vaccines don't cause autism. But when they get asked the questions, if that's the case, then how come right here in America, the Amish community, they children, they don't vaccinate their children? And how come there's no autism in their community? Like, help me understand that, right? So, are you telling me it's because they do everything on their own? They build everything on their own. They do their own agriculture. They do everything on their own. They don't import. They don't buy from nothing else. So, you're telling me that's the reason why? Then that means that what is it? Is it in the food? What is in it that's causing so much autism that just running rampant nowadays? If it ain't from those things, and I think that's the thing that's the saddest part about it, is that there's so many people out here who want to keep your kids and keep people in harm. And they don't want you to be good. They don't want you to be healthy at all. And they call themselves experts. Because look at what happened with Dr. Fauci. And I know a lot of y'all has saw his Senate meeting a couple of weeks ago, or last week actually, right? And he pled the fifth on all the questions, but during the time he was the main one standing on every question that they asked him was the same question that they asked him when in the beginning of this thing. To he had every answer in the world for. Now he pleading the fifth. Can y'all understand, like, really what's going on here, right? Uh, you cannot trust the people who are just telling you that this is just what it is, but they can't give you the answers for why it's not. You cannot do that. There's never been nothing in the world for a person, I don't care what their degree is and all their titles, that's going to say they know that vaccinations has nothing to do with autism. Okay, then help explain why these group of people who don't vaccinate their children don't have autism in their community. Help me understand that then, because there's some way that we are losing the connection between what you professionally say you know versus what people outside here know some kind of way, some kind of information that they know, because they don't deal with that. Now they might deal with all other kind of stuff like everything else that go on, because you can't stop the air and all these other things in the water. You can't stop all that. But the fact that they don't deal with that, y'all got to help us understand then if that's the case. But the fact that so many people are scared right now to even walk out their door because they worried about, you got all these parents now, they watching and guarding over their children right now, especially their teenage boys. People are coming up missing. People are passing. Like all of these things, the weather anomalies that's happening in so many different places, that is nothing but fear and negative thinking. And then in that negative thinking, you ain't going to do nothing but bring negativity to yourself. So that's why I'm so glad about my guest that I have on today. Because what I'm telling y'all is that when we get into the thing about whatever our future is going to be, it's going to start with the way that we think. It's not going to start with just our circumstances. If you're going to change your circumstances, you got to change the way you think. And a lot of us think that because we think in something that is going to change automatically. But no, it's just the fact that if you put it in your mind that you're looking for something to change, you're more than likely to find the answer to the change. Positive thinking is not magically making something appear. Positive thinking is magically making you see the opportunity. That's the difference. You got to be willing to see the opportunity in order for the opportunity to come to you. It's there. It's just that you got to be open enough to see it. That's what the power of positive thinking does. The power of positive thinking is not magic. It's energetic. So the more that you think away, the more that you're going to attract away. It's energetic, y'all. I promise you. So today I have my guest on. He is the author of Common Ground for Us. Right? And I met this guy at a meeting. And this is the fly thing about networking, right? Because I met him at a networking event when we were talking about we are our brand. You are your business, and his business is mindset. So, what better way to have an expert in mindset on the platform to talk about mindset when that's what I talk about all the time? So, let's do this. Let's bring my guest up so we can get into his world real quick. Carl, what's going on?
Hey, how are you this evening? Thanks,
Man.
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate you for taking the time out to jump on, man, and chop it up with the audience. If you don't mind, can you introduce yourself to the audience and tell them exactly what you do?
Sure, and it'll take a second. I'm an old fellow. I'm 75 last week, and so I've done quite a few things. Let me go through some of them. It certainly has to begin. I mean, really, one of the seminal things in my life was when I was 15 years old. I became a fishing guide in Northwest Ontario. I was living in Illinois, got up there for the summer, and spent 4 summers as a fishing guide. And boy, that had a profound impact on my life. Again, as I say, I started when I was 15 years old. So this is the last half of the 60s. And that experience affected me in so many ways. But to continue with my chronology, one of the ways it affected me was that over those 4 summers, I had so many guests, and they were all very successful businessmen. And they were all men. They're in the 60s, and they're bank presidents, and they're owners of manufacturing facilities, and they're partners in law firms. And at some point in this wilderness fishing trip, one of the guests in my boat would stand up, usually with a beer in his hand, and turn to me and say some version of, I heard this 10 times over those summers. And so I'm sort of bringing them all together into, a representative sample. One of them would say, Nordgren, you don't know how lucky you are. Don't you ever put on a suit and tie. Don't you ever get a 9-to-5 job. One of them said, it will suck the soul right out of you if you have a 9-to-5 job. And when I heard that as many times as I heard that, and when I heard it from the bosses, right, the people should have the most adventurous and grand time in business, and they're feeling that way about it, I thought, well, what the heck? The people that work for them must really be downtrodden. So I came out of college determined I was never going to have a business career. So I worked in factories, and I worked in foundries, and I worked in a hide house. And finally, the woman that I was married to at the time, let me quickly say, the woman I'm married to now, I've been married to for 45 years. But the woman that I was married to at the time said, don't you think it's time for you to get a real job? And because I had no traditional work experience, it was becoming really very difficult for me to get a job there in the mid to late 70s. And I finally got a job at a startup, at a textbook publishing startup. And about 6 months after I was there, Rashad, I came up with an idea that I took to the founder, and I said, hey, I think this is a good idea for us to do here in the company. And he said, yeah, Nordgren, let's do that. In fact, you need to hire somebody. You need to hire somebody to do this for you. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm hooked on entrepreneurship. If an idea that you can come up with will result in somebody now having a job, that seemed like a calling that I just wanted to pursue. And so I spent 20 plus years or so as an entrepreneur. That led to me teaching at Duke for 14 years. They first asked me to come teach classes in entrepreneurship. Those classes very quickly over the course of a couple of semesters morphed into classes less about entrepreneurship and more about being creative. That's what the students wanted. And that's what I was having fun delivering. And so that's what I did for 14 years. And since then, so for a total of almost 25 years now, my purpose in life, Rashad, my purpose in life, and you got a little slice of it when we were together at Vince's place, my purpose in life is to help as many people as I can grow their creative capacities, develop their entrepreneurial instincts and behaviors. It's extraordinarily important in all aspects of our lives here and now. It only becomes more important when you spend any time contemplating the unknowable nature of the future. I'm also a novelist. I also host a radio show. I want to get you on my radio show.
Yeah,
and so
definitely.
That's I think a good overview of this guy's long life.
Yeah, and so what what I like is that, the power of creativity, right? That's what intrigued me about your message whenever you spoke at that second, I think it was the second one that I attended when you actually spoke. And that drove like really a nail into whatever I was already, feeling, because you know how it is whenever you think in a certain way and then a complete stranger or a person that you don't know just says the exact thing. It just helps you to understand how much you're on the right path or on the right
Right,
page, right? Because
right.
that's things you can't make up. You can't make that up whenever a person says to you about how important being creative is. And, whenever you do work for a 9 to 5 or whatever, your creativity goes out the door because you're told exactly how to
Yeah,
maneuver every day,
yeah.
right? You're programmed. Basically, you are the robot. And that's why I like the way that you attack you approach the way of creativity, because it helps people to understand that yes, we are talking about AI now and we're talking about robots, but for the longest, people have been going to places being programmed just like one.
Right. Well, one of the aspects of creativity that I share with folks that I think is really sort of foundational, that it's not only important in and of itself, but boy, it permeates and brings energy to so many other creative concepts. And you and I were talking around it before the show began, and that's the power of generosity.
Gotcha.
Right? It's a wonderful human quality that when I'm generous with somebody, they are highly likely to want to be generous in return. I feel very good about this generous behavior. And what do I mean by being generous? I mean, hey, I know you'd be interested in this article. Hey, I know you're working on this project. Can I help you with it? Hey, here's somebody that you really ought to meet. I want to introduce you to this person. Those are acts of generosity as I'm
Yeah.
referencing it. And when you do that with your community of friends and associates, that means you got a whole lot of people out in the world who are inclined to be generous in return, who are
Yeah.
going to introduce you to folks and who are going to share ideas with you that you have perhaps not seen before. The sociologists call this your social capital network, this
Gotcha.
aggregation of friends and associates that you are in an ongoing relationship. And man, it's a really important creative tool to have right now, but oh my gosh, is it going to become all the more important in an unknowable future, right? To have people that you care about and care about you, a diverse group spread out in the world with their eyes open for patterns that they think you might be interested in knowing about Raw One. And so they're going to bring that to you. So
Yeah.
generosity, man, I just love the power of generosity in the creative world.
Yeah, man. Because I say that all the time, in a sense of uh where people are always looking to get paid, right? And I think it's something about just being so easily bought. I don't know if that, even in the times of being in a desperate situation, right? People will do some of the strangest things for money. And I always thought to myself, creativity, what creativity can do for you is go from the person that's getting paid to the person that makes money. And it's not the same thing, right? So I always say this thing to people: why let somebody pay you 100 when you can make 1,000? I always say that because that's the point. The point is that the more you give, the more you get. And it
Right,
doesn't seem that way because sometimes people give a lot to people who take advantage of them.
right.
They don't understand who to give to. And it's about adding value. And I think that's one of the things that we talked about off camera. So let me ask you this. So just from your point of view, how important do you think it is to add value to people who you consider to be a asset or a connection?
To add value to them in fact in the sense of helping them develop their talents, helping develop opportunities for them. Is that the kind of adding value that we're talking about?
I would consider that, or in the sense of like, say, like for you, for example, um, you have a radio show.
Yes.
So there's a lot of times where people need an outlet to get their story out.
Right
No
on.
different than, I'm
Right
right
on.
here with the
Oh yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So then a person comes to you and they say, hey, I have this great business idea and I have this and I have that. And it's like, well, look, I understand that you have that, but look, I have a radio show or I have a podcast. If
I
you
love
don't
that picture.
mind,
Yeah.
come on. Yeah. So what do you think about it
Oh,
in the
right
sense
on.
of that?
Oh, right on. Was it Isaac Newton said, if I've accomplished great things, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. If I ever have the opportunity to let somebody stand on my shoulders, I'm not proclaiming I'm a giant, but if you stand on my shoulders, you'll have a little bit more vantage than you had when you weren't. That's just such a marvelous thing. And you're right on with the radio show. I tell my guests when they come on the show, I said, look, I'm eager for you to share your wisdom, but what I also want you to do is share how important you are, how important the work is that you're doing, how important it is that people support you. Please promote yourself. Please promote yourself. Um,
Right.
the book that you uh, flashed at the beginning of the show, my new book, thank you very much. That publisher and I have an understanding. The publisher, the woman that owns this publishing company, and I have an understanding. She feeds me authors of hers all the time. Yes, Torchflame. Thank you, Torchflame Books, a wonderful publisher in California. And so I've had maybe 7 or 8 authors from that publishing company on my show, telling the stories about the stories that they're telling in their books, right? And so yes, right on. I'm glad that you framed that for us. That's such an important quality to be somebody who leverages themselves for the benefit of others. Right on.
Yeah, man. I
Right
think it's
on.
important. I think it's important. I think a lot of people go into things, especially when they become an entrepreneur, they have learned entrepreneurship through documentaries, right? Where the most successful people have always seemed to be a shark. So they look at
Yeah.
life that way, like take, right? Versus give, because they don't realize that the people who are the most successful, not just successful, because the people who are the sharks are the people who take or whatever are the people who created legacies based off that, right? So you got people who will study like Rockefeller or all these other people. They'll study, the Buchanans or any of these other people. They'll study these families, and then in the study, you'll find out that, their rise to whoever they were came with a lot of, very terrible things that they did to other people. And so that's why when it comes down to entrepreneurship, people take the wrong they take it the wrong way because they look at those people and
Yeah.
they want to be in a position that they are versus them understanding that, have y'all ever thought about the person who signed their check?
Right.
Like, have you ever thought about that person? Like, and I think people miss that. It's the same thing like if you think about whatever it comes down, and I know a lot of people have some type of religious connection, some type of way, I guess. Most people do. And in that, I find that people in the religious sense, they feel like they should be given something because they are. They should be just given something. Oh, I'm this, so you should just give me. Well, I'm this, so I should just do it for free. Say, like, if you go to church, they feel like you should sing or provide your talent for free because in their mind, they're saying you're doing it for God. When
Right.
at the same time, no, you're taking in money every week. So why wouldn't you make sure that I am taken care of if I'm taking care of what you have going on? That's the mindset I'm talking about,
Right.
where people don't realize that taking care of those people who take care of you will allow you to be taken care of whenever you're needed. That's
Right. Right.
that's the difference.
Well, it hurts my soul, and when I hear people sort of recoil to the concept of somebody being an entrepreneur, and then they'll immediately point to the obvious examples of where a successful entrepreneur has proven to be an unpleasant person
Yes,
for our culture, for our society.
yes,
My personal experience is captured by there's a dude named Joseph Schumpeter. Right before World War II, he was a classically trained economist who was sort of the first economist to really challenge the classic economic model about how an economy grows. He's the first person to sort of acknowledge the quality of entrepreneurship. In fact, he was the one that decided, let's take this French label and apply it. And he's the first one to name us entrepreneurs. Well, when he talks about the motivations of an entrepreneur, one of them that he identifies is the motivation that is true for me and was true of all the entrepreneurs that I spent a lot of time with, which was the joy of creating. We were
gotcha,
entrepreneurs because of the joy of creating. Yes, of course, we wanted to have a financial success, but the motivation in almost every case with the entrepreneurs with whom I associated and worked was that they just loved to build something. They were makers, right? They were creators. They were synthesizers. They were designers. They needed to put something into the world that wasn't there before, and they loved doing it. And that's the image of entrepreneurship that that has defined my understanding of it. And so
Yeah.
again, it hurts my heart when I understand that other people haven't had that experience of that joyful building of value, adding
Right.
value, as you were talking about earlier. The joy of creating. And I felt it when I heard you talk for 30 seconds at Vince's event, and I thought there's a guy that gets the joy of creating because it
I
was
do.
just, it was in your eyes, it was in your
Yeah,
voice.
man. I love it because I think that's what we're put here for, man. I just think that everyone has a purpose. I think some people circumstances just allow them to not find it, but I do believe that everyone has a purpose and your gift will suffice if you just, focus on it, right? And
Right.
and I believe that being creative is what make us created in the image of. So for those that believe that saying when they say that we were created in the image of God, well, if God was a creator and we were created in that image, then we were created to create. And
Yes.
I think
Right on.
for the most part, that's what gives me the sense of the closest sense to that eternal feeling is when I'm creative,
Yeah.
right? Because I include other people in my creations. And to see things come to fruition, like even the comedy skits and stuff, or any of the events or anything, like to see it actually come together when I know it was a thought that I had in my head and then now it's here. It's the joy in that to say, Dag, we really do have superpowers. I might not can fly or walk through the wall, but I can think something and it happens.
Yes.
Like it shows
Yes.
up. So
Yeah.
that's why I say the power of positive thinking is more important than you actually just been given something, right? The more I
Right.
think positively about being creative, then I created. And I'm thankful that I was able to create this thought that I had in my head and include other people in the creation, regardless of if monetarily it is successful, right? It's successful because I'm able to create. I love that. And I understand that it comes,
Right.
right? Like the money is only the reward of the dedication you put into being creative, right? So we just got to stay on our path and all those things will take care of themselves. But I wonder for those people who are watching if they could understand from your perspective, um because I think in your book you talk a lot about optimism. Right,
Right.
that's a word that a lot of people don't use nowadays, right? Because it's really not very optimistic outside,
Yeah.
if you want to put it in so many terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Help
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people to understand, like, throughout your life's journey, because you haven't always had it positive things in your life, right? You've gone through the down parts of the up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
For sure. For
help us to
sure.
understand why you chose to use optimism as a means of, understanding how to be creative.
Well, I think that what our nation needs right now are two things. I think we badly, badly need common ground, hence the title of the book. But we also need the energy of optimism. And so I think that, first of all those things that we talked about earlier that creative people, entrepreneurs want to do, builders need to build and creators need to create,
Right.
designers need to design. Just to begin is an optimistic behavior. Just to begin that is
Exactly.
inherently an optimistic activity. And so I guess my optimism comes from my predisposition to engage in creative expression. The wonderful thing about the common ground referenced in the book is that is the common ground. That is what we have in common. What we have in common, us human beings, us Americans, what we have in common is that we are builders and creators and designers, and that's the very best of us. And so we find each other where we are doing, where we are exhibiting our wonderful creative expressions. That's where we find each other. And
Right.
so that's common ground, but that's also optimism. Um, and so why we need 75%, I've seen this research, two different research projects have reached almost the exact same conclusion. High school students, 75% of them say that they're scared to death of the future. They have no optimism about the future at all. 75%. And one might say to themselves, well, that means they're rational human beings. If you're 17 years old and you're looking at the state of the country and the state of the world, to have a lot of anxiety about what's ahead might actually be the most logical thing for them to feel. So my calling, I am very mindful of this, that my calling, having discovered what I discovered after spending all these years helping people become creative, this discovery of this common ground was inadvertent. I wasn't looking for it. But all of a sudden I realized that I've shared this common ground, that we are all together. Each one of us have these remarkable creative qualities. I realized that I had shared that with roughly 5,000 people, and that idea that this is common ground that we all
Right.
inhabit is as attractive to the left as it is to the right. That makes me optimistic. It
Right.
is as important to somebody who lives on a farm as it is to somebody who lives on the top of the tallest building in New York City. That makes me optimistic, right? That we can find
Right.
common ground, that it's important for people who have, it's important for people who don't have yet. It's important for somebody who's well into his journey like I am. It's important for somebody
Right.
like you who's going to live well into the century. That makes
Yeah.
me optimistic.
Right.
And when I think that the most important thing that we can do collectively and individually, the most important thing that we can do in looking at this unknowable future,
Right.
and let me underscore, I don't say unknown future, it's truly unknowable, this future is, the most important thing that we can do, the most rational thing that we can do to prepare for that unknowable future is to develop our creative qualities and to develop our creative assets and to develop our creative resources and to build maker spaces and to build new venture centers and to go into schools and say, let's help the kids be their most creative selves. That causes optimism because that plays to our strengths.
That's
That's
right.
who we are,
That's
right? You're
right.
saying, oh, we got to be even better at what we're really good at to prepare for the future. We got to be even better at what we enjoy doing to prepare for the future. Boy, that to me just is dripping with optimism, right? I just
Yeah.
love the optimism of that message. And so that's the subtitle of the book. Warning,
Right.
this book makes folks optimistic.
Optimistic.
And I'm glad that
Yeah.
comes through so strong for you, man. I'm really glad that does come through so strong for you.
Yeah, because you gotta think about it. A lot of people, optimism is one of the rare virtues that people overlook, right? Because they're either happy or sad or mad. Those are the three, and the sad and mad kind of go together, right? In
Right.
so many aspects, but it's never another with the good, right? It's
Right.
either good, bad, or sad, right? And then good don't have its counterpart, but bad and sad kind of could put each other together, right? But optimism and good, is those. It should be that saying, right?
Right.
Good, optimistic, bad, and worse, or whatever. However you want to look at it, but optimism should be somewhere in there because the way that you think, it does determine your actions. And yeah, life might not be going the way you want it to, and you may be thinking about that, but a lot of times things don't even turn out the way that we was thinking. Like you could think the worst about something and people call it preparing for the worst, but no, you're just bringing extra anxiety onto yourself. But and then when it doesn't happen, you be like, oh man, I wasted all that time. Yeah, you wasted all that time. Check this out. We got a comment from one of the viewers, Jennifer Chasman Brown. She says the creating is really about connecting and making others' lives better though, right? And I agree with her totally because I want you to answer, about what you think about it too. But I think for me personally, making others' lives better is a virtue. right? That not a lot of people possess because they only go into thinking about themselves, right? Making themselves better, not understanding that helping to make somebody else better will
Right.
help you become better, right?
Right on.
Uh, I think that was the whole premise behind the movie Pretty Woman. I know people didn't look at it from that perspective, right? Because it looked at the relationship between a rich man and sort of a prostitute and him being able to pay his way through whatever he wanted to do. But ultimately, her presence in his life made his life better. And in turn, he made her life better in the sense of both of them were using themselves to make money.
Yeah.
And then once they got to each other, they realized that the thing that they were missing was the things that made them uh, close to each other. And I think
Right.
that's the point that people miss from that movie as well. But what do you think about what the watcher has said, the viewer has said?
Connections, absolutely. I mean, we talked earlier about the power of social capital. There's there are compelling research projects that will tell us that the most important creative asset that you can have right now is the quality of doing what Jennifer just asked about. The quality
Right.
of connecting people is the greatest indicator of creative success. People who are really good at connecting prove to be really, really good at coming up with original creative ideas when they're called upon to create original ideas. And so, what's so wonderful about all this so often is the reciprocity of it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that this is perfectly applied, but I think it's pretty close. I call it pragmatic altruism, right?
Mm.
It makes me feel real good, right? There's an altruistic nature to wanting to serve, but it's pragmatic as it can possibly be because I get rewarded for it, right? And so I don't
Gotcha.
do it to be rewarded. Maybe sometimes I do, and I'm a flawed human being, so maybe sometimes I'm mindful of, oh, I wonder what kind of reward I'll get. But I think when your motivation is genuinely a generous one, um, and you can cultivate that. And speaking of generosity, when we were talking earlier about optimism, I mentioned that there'd be a lot of places where generosity will pop back up again. I think when you are being generous, that creates a sense of optimism, right? To be generous
Yeah.
with somebody is an optimistic behavior,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
You have a sense that good things are going to happen when you're being generous with
Exactly.
somebody. It might be micro, but a whole lot of micros, really start to add up, right?
They add up, right? It's just like the dripping water effect, right? The dripping faucet effect. It adds up. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you
right,
looking at it
right,
just for the drip, but you don't understand it's adding up. Every time it drips, it adds up. I wonder if we can apply that to our lives in entrepreneurial space, right? Whenever a person is looking for their financial outcome, right? Or they breakthrough, financial breakthrough, that they realize that every drip that they make into their entrepreneurial journey will eventually fill up whatever it's where it's dripping at, right? Whether
right,
say it's a sink or whatever tub, whatever a person wants to think of, it may take a really long time for a drip to fill up the tub, but if you just allow it to continue to drip and you don't stop dripping, no matter what, eventually that tub is going to get full. And if you would apply that to your entrepreneurial version of
right,
your life, I think it'll help people with that perception, right? Like, see it first, right? Even if you don't have it, see it. See yourself with it, right? I think that helps with optimism, right? If you sometimes material things help you in that, right? So let's say, like, for example, a car, it's Lamborghini. But everybody say that's a waste of money. Yeah, whatever. But it ain't a waste for me to be driving one, right? Like, but you got to see yourself in the Lamborghini in order for you to ever have it. You got to see yourself in it, right? You have to see yourself in the house that you want. You have to see yourself in the vacation spots you want to be, because whatever helps you with the goal of freedom, right? I think entrepreneurship will lead you to freedom,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you can understand what your version of freedom is, right? Like, I'm freely to create all day long. That's freedom to me,
Well, that
right?
was Joseph. That was another one of Joseph Schumpeter's motivations. In fact, he's, I mentioned dude earlier. He said one of the
Yeah,
reasons,
yeah,
one of the things that motivates entrepreneurs is the joy to create. The second one was exactly what you just said: trying to create a
oh
life where I
wow,
have control of my freedoms.
wow,
I am the master of my time. Is the other
right,
motivator to become an entrepreneur, and boy, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful
wow.
to control your clock?
Yeah, man.
To
Or
be the
even to have confirmation like that, because I've never heard that person speak before.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
just to know that there's another person, and obviously a successful in what they say, to say that, man, because it does mean a lot that our entrepreneurial journey looks more like freedom than it does wealth. Um, because that's the thing that people are looking for. They're looking for the wealth, and I think the wealth will come. I think the wealth it comes, but freedom is the ultimate goal. I
right,
think for once entrepreneurs realize that, right? And yes, money can help you do the things that you want to do in your freedom, but the goal should be freedom, right? Be free to not be so chained in a system. I think you alluded to it earlier about the advice you got from those guys who created
right,
businesses that had people working for them was don't ever do this. This
right,
will suck you dry.
right.
And in the sense of that, right? I was saying that what's so crazy is because you're never creative in that space. You're only acting.
Right.
Uh
Well,
so
I
so
never.
many
Yeah,
people are actors. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I never. Therefore, I never wound up working for a corporation. It's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not much of one to say that I've never worked for a company that I didn't help start. Um, I've had large corporations as clients, and when I got to know the people on the client side who worked for large corporations, I heard this more than once, and that was they had the mindset that said that making a mistake is that they suffer much more from making a mistake than they gain from doing something good. They suffer much more from making a mistake, right? If they lose, let's just have an arbitrary number. If they lose 4 points for making a mistake, they're only going to gain 2 for doing something good, and therefore they're covering their butts, right? What their motivation isn't to do good. Their motivation is to not make a mistake. And is that the
Gotcha.
least creative posture that one can possibly be in? Is the
Yes.
posture of being afraid of making a mistake?
Yeah.
You're just locked up. You're just totally
That's
locked up.
true. And then I never thought about it like that because yes, most 9 to 5 jobs, people because you're told what to do, most people are worried about not making a mistake.
Yeah,
Because in the 9 to 5 in the corporate world, there are more ways to punish you for things than there are to reward you for things, right?
yeah,
So you could come to work early every day and they never say anything about that. But the minute that you're late, you can
yeah,
get this happen to you, that can happen to you, get rolled up. And you can never go back to look, for 3 months straight, I was here early. Why y'all ain't saying nothing about that? And there was no reward for that. Oh no, you just but
yeah,
if you late though, one time we're gonna do, so you're right. It forces you to become, and I think this is synonymous to what I was saying earlier about the robot. How people don't realize how they're being trained and programmed to react as if they are literally coming off an assembly line and put into work. So the new model that people are looking for when it comes down to corporations, first internally using AI, then those that will be using robots for physical labor. People are missing the point. Like the concept is that they're just making better versions of you that don't need a day off and that
right,
won't complain.
right,
It won't ask for anything,
right,
right? And so they don't have to pay them, they just have to maintain them.
right.
It's almost like most marriages nowadays, right? A lot of people are locked into a marriage where a man has a wife that he maintains, right? But it's not like it's a part of the helpmate system,
Right.
right? Which marriage was intended for, where you find the helpmate to help you create, not take away. And I think that's a lot of the things that people are dealing with in all relationships, not just between husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever that dynamic is. It's even with themselves and their livelihood, like that relationship.
Right.
That relationship is just as flawed because, like you said earlier, um, it takes more optimism to believe in yourself than it does to know that you have a steady paycheck if you go work for this person.
Right. Right. Well, let me hop back just a little bit when you were talking about businesses in robotics and that they are creating a version of you that they don't have to pay. And let me set up a little scenario. I'd really be interested in hearing your
Okay.
reaction to it. And that is, of course, we have now a concern about between AI and robotics that jobs are going to be lost. And to
Right.
remind people who are listening, watching, roughly 70% of the operating expenses for the typical business are employee related, roughly 70%. And so when they have the opportunity to be extraordinarily more profitable when they can
Right.
eliminate those
Yeah.
expenses, those costs. And so they will be businesses will be highly motivated to do something like what I'm just now describing. Well, there will come a time, I am anticipating. I don't know when it will be. I don't know if it'll be 5 years from now. I don't know if it'll be 15 years from now. Nobody knows what will happen in this unknowable future, as we referenced
Right.
earlier. But
Right.
a time will come where enough jobs will be lost that the purchasing power of the marketplace will be severely eroded. There won't be
That's right.
money in people's pockets. When that occurs, I am proposing to us all, it will be in businesses' self interest to have that much now more profitable revenue stream to be taxed specifically for a universal basic income for the
Yeah.
people who for the citizens. Well,
Right.
if politicians decided that they wanted to be political leaders and got ahead of this and saw that the likelihood of this occurring and made these investments that we talked about earlier in
Exactly.
developing our creative talent and in developing creative infrastructure. Can you imagine if all these folks now don't have to go do that 9 to 5 job that they've hated doing? They now have enough money in their pocket to cover their living expenses. Now
Right.
they get to do what they want to do, and they've
Mm.
had these natural creative qualities tuned up, and they have these resources available to them, these commonwealth
Wow.
resources available to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I see this grassroots, bottoms up renaissance occurring that just, when I go to bed at night thinking about that, I have sweet dreams all night long because I can feel it happening if,
Yeah.
in fact, politicians would become political leaders and appreciate that this is on the horizon and that they can give us an optimistic message about what otherwise might seem really scary to us, right?
Yeah.
It's scary to us to contemplate all these jobs are going to be lost, but there is a wonderful story to tell about what happens when these jobs are lost, if politicians will see the opportunity to tell those stories.
Yeah. Or
And
like you said, do the right thing.
yeah, yeah. And just simply telling the stories is political leadership, right? I mean, to tell the story to us about the optimistic mindset, to go all the way back to
Right.
the beginning of the show and the word that you used to introduce the show, that optimistic mindset about the future, all they have to do is tell those stories, and they are serving us by just simply telling those stories.
Exactly. They will have to figure out something because you're right. They may make more money overall for a short term, but then they will lose more money because of the goods and services will not be able to be afforded by the
Right,
people.
right,
And so it won't it in turn it will really backfire, right?
right,
And even with people who are talking about population control, they're trying to get rid of a certain amount of people, so they only have a certain amount of people. Well, even if they do that, no matter how much they have, if less they do what you said, become a basic universal income, and it has to be uh, in a way where I hope that it is a way where cash is still involved, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if not, you know, you got the people who are giving you now telling you how you can spend it and not spend it. I think what we all should have the positive mindset is, like you said, the optimistic of either being able to say, hey, I'm gonna get in front of it as a regular human being now, and I'm gonna start investing in these companies so that way whenever they start to make a lot of profit, then I will make money in the interim that I'm gonna lose my job. I won't lose my money,
Right.
right? Because you understand the power of investing while you're at these companies that you fear is going to lay you off. Because if you think about it, their profit margin is going to rise. So if you can be a person that thinks ahead, then you should be able to understand the power in investing, right? And so I think it's like you said, it's so many more optimistic ways to look at things than it
Right.
is the negativity of just, oh, we're going to lose jobs.
Right.
Your mindset is really important. The way you think is the way you are. And if you're only thinking as a worker bee, then you'll never understand the mindset of an entrepreneur who sees a way
Right.
versus no way.
Right.
So let's do this, man, before we get out of here, man, because I want to make sure that people can get in contact with you. I want to make sure that people know how to get your book, because we got to mention, you know, Common Ground for us. And I know you referenced it a lot in this conversation, but I just think it's so many gems in this book. And it's not, for those of you that are watching, he didn't make it where you're going to be sitting down all day to read it, right?
My publisher told me if I could keep it under 100 pages, that the industry might actually call it a wisdom book. And I thought, oh,
There you go.
that
And
sounds pretty cool to have a wisdom book. That sounds
yeah,
pretty cool.
man. Yeah. And I think with your level of expertise and examples that you put in the book, and it's just the thought, the way that you broke it down, which I don't want to give too much away because I want people to actually go read the book. I think it's important, right, that people can find you and connect with you, because you are a motivational speaker as well. So I think you know, a lot of companies would value you speaking
Well, that's kind
to
of you to say
them
that.
and their employees. So
It's
before
kind of
we
you to
get out
say
of
that.
here, yeah, let people to know
Well,
how they can do
I'll
that.
give contact information, but whenever I do any gig, that anything at all like this, I always want to make sure that I've delivered for sure an actionable tip for people.
There
And
you
so,
go.
with your permission, what I want to do is I want to share with folks that there's research out of the University of Munich. I hope this green is coming across on the screen. The University of Munich did research to determine if color might have impact on creative performance. And it didn't with blue, it didn't with red, it didn't with yellow, and it didn't with gray, but it sure did with green. Folks that stared at the color green for just 30 seconds, just 30 seconds, had a 25% improvement in their performance on a series of creative exercises relative to the control group. Why green? The researchers don't say why they think it's green. It's night now, so you can't look out the window, but in the daylight, look out the window, and you everywhere in the world, the
It's
color of
green.
growth is green. And so it makes sense to me that if any color was going to have that impact, green would be the color that would have that impact. Thank you for letting me share that with folks. And if you go to your local business supply store, the green folder that they sell there is the green that is the same green as the University of Munich's green. So my author website, where you can find out more information about the book, is my name, carlnordgren.com. So you see my name there. carlnordgren.com is my author website. You'll find information about the book that we have been referencing. You'll also find information about my earlier novels. My email is Carl Nordgren and then the number 14, carlnordgren14 at gmail.com. And anybody who's listening to your show, Sparking Conversation, anybody who's a listener of your show is somebody that I would like to be in touch with for sure. So please reach out and contact me if you are at all interested in having any kind of ongoing conversation. And so I think that's what you asked for, right? Is some contact.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate that, man, because I think
There you
it's
got it.
always important, yeah, man, for people to know how to reach the experts that I have on, because I think it's important that people you know, not everybody asks their questions live and stuff like that, but we know that they have them. And then sometimes they just want a more personal, you know, reach out. So I always want to make sure that my guests get that opportunity to,
Thank you.
you know, give their contacts out to people to make sure that people can, you know, reach them and stuff like that. And at the same time, I think it's important that whenever you have things of marketing promotion, such as a book, right, a tangible physical book, and I know that so many people out here read, right? And this is the way that people retain information. So I think it's important. So for all of y'all that watch tonight, thank y'all so much. Carl, don't hang up. When after my outro, we're gonna talk a little bit off camera. But to the rest of y'all know the vibes, man. Each and every week I am here and I'm chopping it up with some of the world's most interesting people. And I want y'all to continue to rock out with your boy and be here each and every Tuesday so you can get something for something. Right? Value for value is what I like to provide. So until next week, y'all, remember, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So until then, peace.
Let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah. She so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah. She so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. She give me